Last year, the cost of living adjustment was 2.8%. For the average retired worker, that turned a $2,015 benefit into a $2,071 benefit, $56 more a month. And then Medicare took $17.90 of it before the money ever reached the bank account, so the raise was $56. What actually landed was $38.10. That is not 2.8%. Run it against the original benefit, and it is 1.9%. The headline number and the deposit number were never the same number, and almost nobody does that subtraction out loud. I am Susan, and today we are going to do it out loud. We are going to take the 2027 forecast that is running in the news right now, subtract the Medicare side of it, and land on the number that actually shows up in your account at 3 different benefit levels. And I'm going to show you the piece of arithmetic that makes the smaller check lose the most. Let me start with last year, because last year is finished and the numbers are real. This is not a projection. This already happened, and you can check every figure I am about to say. The cost of living adjustment for 2026 was 2.8%. The Social Security Administration put the average retired worker benefit at $2,015 going in and $2,071 coming out. That is the $56. Now the other side. The standard Medicare Part B premium went from $185 a month to $202.90 a month. That is an increase of $17.90, and it is a 9.7% jump on the premium itself. Most people never see that money move. If you are receiving Social Security and you are enrolled in Part B, the premium comes straight out of the check before the deposit. So the transaction happens somewhere you are not looking, and what you see in the bank is just a slightly bigger number than last month. 56 in, $17.90 out, $38.10 left standing. Now here's the part I really want you to sit with, because this is the mechanism, and once you see it, you will see it every single year for the rest of your retirement. The cost of living adjustment is a percentage. The Medicare premium increase is a flat dollar amount. Everybody pays the same standard Part B premium regardless of the size of their benefit. So the raise scales with your check and the deduction does not. Watch what that does across 3 people who all got the same 2.8% last year. Person 1 has a benefit of $1,200 a month. 2.8% of $1,200 is $33.60. Subtract the $17.90 and you are left with $15.70. On a $1,200 benefit, $1,570 is 1.3%. Their announced raise was 2.8. Their real raise was 1.3. Person 2 is the average at $2,015. $56 minus $17.90 is $38.10. That is 1.9%. Person 3 has a benefit of $3,200 a month. 2.8% of $3,200 is $89.60. Subtract the same $17.90 and you keep $71.70. That is 2.2%. Same announced adjustment. 1.3%, 1.9%, and 2.2%, depending entirely on the size of the check the percentage was applied to. The smallest benefit lost the largest share of its raise because a flat deduction is a bigger bite out of a smaller number. That is the whole thing. It is not complicated and it is not a scandal. It is just arithmetic that never appears in the headline. Now, before we go to the forecast, there is one protection you need to know about because it changes the picture for some of you. It is called the hold harmless provision. In plain terms, for most people who have their Part B premium deducted from a Social Security check, the dollar increase in that premium is not allowed to be larger than the dollar increase in the benefit. Your Social Security deposit is not permitted to go down from one year to the next because of a Part B increase. Roughly 7 in 10 Medicare enrollees are covered by that rule. Now notice what it does and does not do. It sets a floor at 0. It does not give you a raise. In a year with a small adjustment and a large premium increase, hold harmless means your net raise can be reduced all the way down to nothing, and it stops there. The protection is against going backwards, not against standing still. And there are people it does not cover at all. If your premium is not deducted from a Social Security check, you are outside it. If you are enrolling in Part B for the first time this year, you are outside it. If Medicaid pays your premium, you are outside it. And this is the one worth writing down. If you pay the income-related surcharge on top of the standard premium, the one that is calculated from your tax return 2 years back, you are outside the protection entirely. For those households, the net deposit genuinely can fall. So check which side of that line you are on before you plan around any of these numbers. Now let us go to 2027, and I want to be careful about the difference between a fact and a forecast here. The projection running in the financial press right now puts the 2027 adjustment at about 3.6%. That number is not official, and it is not final. The adjustment is calculated from inflation readings across July, August, and September, and it is announced in October. Anything you read before October is an estimate built on partial data, and those estimates have moved several times already this year. So treat 3.6 as a planning figure, not a promise. If it lands lower, everything I am about to show you gets smaller. Here is 3.6% at 3 benefit levels. At $1,500 a month, 3.6% is $54. At $2,000 a month, it is $72. At $2,800 a month, it is $100.80. Now the Medicare side. The 2027 Part B premium has not been announced. It comes out in November, the same way the 2026 number came out last November. So I cannot tell you what it will be, and anyone who tells you they can is guessing. What I can do is show you the arithmetic with a reasonable placeholder, and then show you how to redo it in about a minute once the real number lands. Last year, the premium went up $17.90. Reporting on Medicare costs suggests out-of-pocket costs are set to rise again in 2027. So let us run the math with the $20 increase and understand that this is a placeholder and not a prediction. At $1,500, the $54 raise minus a $20 premium increase leaves $34. Against a $1,500 benefit that is 2.3%, not 3.6. At $2,000, 72 minus 20 leaves $52. That is 2.6%. At $2,800, $100.80 minus 20 leaves $80.80. That is 2.9%. 3.6% announced, 2.3, 2.6, and 2.9% delivered, depending on where you sit. And you can see the same pattern as last year. The gap between the headline and the deposit is widest at the bottom and narrowest at the top. Now let me give you the test to run on your own numbers, because your benefit is not $1,500 or $2,000 or $2,800. It is whatever it is, and yours is the only one that matters to you. There are 3 steps to it, and none of them need anything more than a calculator. Step 1. Find your current gross monthly benefit. Gross, not the deposit. That is the figure before the Part B premium comes out, and it is on your benefit statement or in your account on the Social Security website. If you have only ever looked at the deposit, you have been working with the wrong starting number this whole time. Step 2. Multiply that gross figure by the adjustment percentage. Use 3.6% for now as a placeholder and replace it with the real number in October. $2,000 times 0.036 is $72. That is your gross raise. Step 3. Subtract the change in your Part B premium. Not the whole premium, only the increase. If the premium goes from $202.90 to about $223, that is a change of roughly $20, and $20 is what you subtract. What is left is your real raise. Divide it by your gross benefit if you want to see it as a percentage, and that percentage is the honest one. 2 figures, 1 subtraction, and you know your own number instead of the average person's number. Let me put one worked case on the table before we finish, because I think seeing a whole household is more useful than seeing a line of arithmetic. Consider a couple where one person has a benefit of $2,200 and the other has a benefit of $1,100. Both are on Part B. Household gross from Social Security is $3,300 a month. Apply 3.6%. The larger benefit gains $79.20. The smaller one gains $39.60. That is $118.80 of announced raise for the household. But there are 2 Part B premiums in this house, not one. 2 premiums, each going up about $20, is $40 leaving the household. $118.80 in. $40 out. $78.80 actually arrives. Against a $3,300 household benefit, that is 2.4%. And notice something about the smaller benefits specifically. $39.60 of raise against a $20 premium increase means that person personally nets $19.60. Their announced 3.6% is functioning as 1.8%. 2 Medicare premiums in one house is the detail that most household budgeting misses. If you are running a couple's numbers, you have to subtract twice. So what do you actually do with this? The first thing is that you now have a realistic figure for next year's household income instead of an optimistic one. If you were planning around 3.6% and the real delivery is closer to 2.5%, that gap on a $3,300 household is about $450 over the course of a year. Not a catastrophe. But it is the difference between a budget that holds and a budget that quietly does not. The second thing is timing. 2 dates matter. October, when the adjustment is announced. November, when the Part B premium is announced. You cannot finish this calculation until both numbers exist. So do the arithmetic in a rough form now, and finish it properly in late November when nothing is a guess anymore. The third thing is that if the net raise on a small benefit is running near 1.5%, that household should be looking at its cost side rather than waiting on the income side. The income side has already told you what it is going to do. And the last thing, which matters more than any of the arithmetic, none of this is a reason to be alarmed. Your benefit is still adjusting upward every year. It is still adjusting for the rest of your life, and it is one of the few sources of income you have that does that at all. The point of this exercise is not to be gloomy about the adjustment. The point is to plan with the number that actually arrives instead of the number in the headline, because those have never been the same number, and they are not going to start being the same number now. Here is the whole episode in one line. The adjustment is a percentage of your check. The premium increase is a flat dollar amount. Subtract the second from the first before you plan around either of them. If you want to run your own, put your gross benefit in the comments, and I will tell you what 3.6% nets out to at your level. And come back in November, because that is when we will redo this with real numbers on both sides. Run your numbers. Know you're on track.